figured I'd get going here. Just want to make sure this phone works. And here we are in, actually, this side it's sunny. It's starting to get sunny. This side it's not so. It's just cloudy. So it's just about to get sunny. And so we're here near St. Augustine Beach. And so what we're gonna do is let me show you the scene we're gonna be painting. And let me just turn this around. So this morning we had right over here, we had the sun. And so I'm going to paint what we saw this morning, what I saw this morning. And it's on the cover that you saw. And so this will be the shot we're doing. And so if you look at it, it's still lit up right over here. But the sun was right there. And we had these beautiful clouds coming in. The clouds, looks like we're getting some blue sky now. It almost rained a little bit. And so we'll see how this goes. And it's windy, gusts of wind once in a while, but I think you'll be able to hear me. Let me just set this up. We'll just start painting. Oh shoot, what the heck's happening here? Oh, there we go. Just pressed the wrong button. So here's my palette. Hold on, let me just set this up. Back this up a little bit. I think you can see. Push this back a little bit. Hold on one second. I just get a little bit farther back. You can see my palette, and you can see the scene that I'm doing. And I drew it up. I got here about an hour before, and I got here about 8. It's 9 o'clock here now in Florida. 8 by you guys. Back in Chicago. Hey Karen. Hey Pamela. And we're going to get started here. Now, what I'm working on today, I'll be working on a panel. So it's a panel like this. It's just the panel that I put gesso on. And so if you can see, it is just one. I think I even got it at Walmart, or may have ordered it on Amazon. But what I did is I put the gesso ground on there. And so we'll be doing this painting on that panel with gesso ground. And we got one person here, Barb. Barb has let me stay at her nice condo. So she's going to be in the class we got coming up in St. Augustine. Actually, it's at Villano Beach. I haven't been there yet. I'm going to be there this afternoon setting up for the class. And so let me just start here. And like I said, we're going to be doing it not exactly like it looks right here, right now. It's kind of like that, but I memorized it, and it's a lot of the same colors. This is being the bright area, and I'm going to have the sun. Actually, the sun is now above us, and it's going to come out in about a second. And so it'll change everything, because my palette then will be all lit up, and you'll be able to see that. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start with the sky, and again, with always, we work light to dark. And I can see you guys. If you have a question, just let me know. I look at my phone. It's right in front of me. And so we'll just wet the surface. And we'll start light to dark, like my step one, always step one. And like I said, I drew it up before. I didn't erase like the thing, so you're going to see a little bit of the pencil lines kind of disappear. And I'm working with my palette that I'm going to try to make again in plastic this time. I keep on finding different ways of making this thing. And so, okay, the sun's going to be right around here. And then we've got some yellow through here. So we're working with lights first. So let's say that the sun is right there. It's not right there right now, but let's pretend. The years of working as an illustrator really helped me a lot because of the fact that I had to draw everything in my imagination. And so it's easy for me to sit there and look at it and memorize it. And hopefully that'll be something. Yes, there is a lot of stuff to draw in St. Augustine. I thought I'd do the beach. And so again, just going to paint. Now it acts like paper, but it's a little bit like hot press, because even though I have texture with my brush, it still acts a little bit like hot press because it absorbs a little bit, but not a super lot. and it doesn't. So it's just a different kind of feel to it when you're working with gesso ground. And actually I gotta bring out my forgot to bring out my set of this is my set of gouache, and so I'll probably use a little bit of that too later as I'm working at the end. I usually use the gouache in the end, not so much in the beginning, because I can use the watercolor pretty thick. And so look at those beautiful clouds out there. I can put some of those in there. And I love this color, this jaune number 2 for, it's kind of like a salmon color, even though it's a flesh tone. It's great for skies. Most people use it for flesh tone, but I use it for skies. I did one yesterday. If you saw on Facebook, I did one for the Laguna Plein-air people. They're doing this postcard thing where we're donating to their fund. And I did one with this color. It's called jaune number 4 or number 2. I forget which one it is. I think it's number 4. And it's kind of like a flesh tone. And so let's wet this up here again. And up there, I'm going to start putting in some of the blue from the sky you can see through, because then the clouds will go right on top of that. If you have questions, just ask me. I'll look once in a while. Yeah, it took me, Karen, it took me about, I would say, half an hour to draw it on there. And I kind of manipulate, like this guy over here, you don't see him. He's over that way a little bit, that plant. And so I brought the plant over because it was not as nice as the plant over there. So I just brought him in. So there's times when I just change it to my liking. Hey, Maria. So this, when you're using the board, it acts not quite like paper because it doesn't bleed in as well. And so you have to use the paint a little bit thicker. And it ends up being more like an oil because you're kind of using it thick. Oh, there goes my my felt. There is a magnet on top of that magnet, but it just came right out. And it does soften, like see the lines I'm getting in there? It does soften with water, so it's just a little bit different. Kind of fun. I actually enjoy using it. And at first, you're not used to that because there's a lot of brushwork. That looks like a lot of brushwork, but it tends to then, with water, it just smooths itself out. But it takes a little bit. And I got to make things a little bit darker, so let's pull in a little bit more paint. I'm using, what is that, lavender, horizon blue, a little bit of neutral tint. Instead of black, I'm using neutral tint, so it's not as black, but it gives me a little bit dark in my color. I know people like to mix their black, but I find it easier just to use the neutral tint or the black. And I find students find it easier also, so don't be afraid of using black in your work. You can color that black, or you can put black into the color. And how's the sound coming? I'm hoping the wind is not so strong on it, on the microphone, that you can't hear me. Hopefully you can hear me. Now I'm using a little bit of pink in here to go between the blue and the yellow. And look at the sun just came out. So it's going to change everything. But look at the light in here now. Right there. Look at that light. Oh man, that's nice too. But I kind of have to go with what I start with. You when you're plein air painting, it changes. It changes hour by hour or minute by minute actually, and so you have to kind of establish, in a value study or a thumbnail. I did the thumbnail in my head because I was just working, and basically the sky's gonna be dark. Dark goes through here, then it comes to the light, and the light from the sun goes right down to the boardwalk here, and the sand, and then this is all dark, and the boardwalk with the railing, that's my light. Everything else is gonna be my dark. So I already established my lights and darks. So you have to decide on what it is right from the get-go, and don't change it halfway through. It doesn't work. I've tried that, and it just screws everything up. So stick with your value study or your thumbnail right from the get-go. I'm establishing the horizon line there now. That's a little bit usually darker, way out there, where the sun's not hitting that, and then the waves will be white. And so I just leave that alone. This is still watercolor, so that it's easy to do that. See how it softens after a while. Now there are brushwork for me putting on the gesso ground, the absorbent ground. So you'll see that in the mix things. Like it's also coming down because I'm working vertical. And now it's starting to get really, really windy here. Hopefully it won't blow my things over. And I'm gonna take a little bit of there was a cloud that went right through the middle of the sun. So I'm just gonna put that in there now. Even though the sun's not there anymore, the sun's shining in my eye actually. And I'm just gonna put a little bit thicker paint. I have a towel underneath my palette, which I like to do, the towel thing. But you can do also out here. I just put a towel underneath my thing here, a blue towel. That way I can just rub down here like that. But I also, when I'm out here, I like to keep one in my hand too, just in case. Look at how light that sky got. Not enough pigment. When a wash gets too light, don't be afraid to go back in and make it the value. But it has to be dark, and it's not dark enough. And so, if you look at the cover of this video when it gets done, that's the scene I'm painting. And that's the one I memorized. And it was all dark up here. And it went down. It gets lighter and lighter until you get around the sun. And around the sun, you get a nice yellow and orange. And see how it smooths out in time? It does smooth out. So you got to give it time to dry. When I look out there, it's all, it's right now, if you look out there, right, it's all blue, right? But the sun was right there, so you can't make that blue. And if you have a camera, it's not cheating if you go look at your camera for what it was. The camera is a great tool for the artist, because then you can look back at what you saw and what you have in your sketch, or do a sketch of it, do a thumbnail sketch. As it goes down here, all the little things get smaller and smaller. Like the farther away you get, the clouds get smaller and smaller, and back there it's really light because the sun is back there. As you go away from it, as it comes overhead here, it goes over my head, then it gets dark. Though right now the sun is, just from here it's actually right there. In the picture it's right there. Morning. So now we should put them into the picture. We need to put them right here. I was thinking about that, maybe putting a person in this scene, but it's really nice with the way it is, without just a scene alone. It's really kind of nice. And see, now I'm putting it in very watercolor-like. And if you want, you could dip into your. I'll put this is my gouache, and so the gouache I can put in. If I want to make it thicker later on, I can just rub it in. But you don't do it while it's wet, then it's just still a watercolor. This is a watercolor technique. When I start using the gouache, you got to have it dry and use the gouache technique. And gouache is put on dry to do it as a dry gouache technique. If I use this like watercolor and wet into wet, then it is gouache, but it's used like watercolor. So there's a difference between the techniques that you use when you're using gouache or watercolor. They're both the same. They're both the same. They're just pigment, and one covers better than the other. But the way you use it, it's either like watercolor, wet into wet, or wet on dry, and that's in thick. That's more of a gouache technique. This is lilac. The lilac has a little bit of white in it also. All right, and so let's get to our lights down here. That was my lights, and with a little bit of my darks of the tree, of the sky, And now let's just get this kind of a beige. I'm going to use some lavender. I use lavender a lot when it comes to trying to make my grays, because lavender with anything makes always really good grays. See, that was a lavender with that jaune number, whatever. And I'm just going to go in here and put the gray in all of everything here. Rip, go across the top. I do like that sun, how it's like right now. Boy, I should keep on taking pictures, but I'm filming, so I can't. Barb's going to take some pictures here. And so it's amazing. It's such a simple spot, just a boardwalk. And I was going to go out down the beach and look at all these spots, and I never got past the boardwalk. I'm just like, well, you don't have to even go out to the beach. The beach is actually very windy out there, and there's actually, other than waves, there's no darks, and so I'd have to kind of figure out what is going to be my center of interest. And so the wave, maybe a simple wave, could be the dark. But this just attracted my eyes right away. I'm like, okay, I don't have to go any farther than this. And so what I'm doing is I'm putting these grays over everything. And it's a warm gray with a little bit of this jaune number 2 or 4. I have to look that up one of these days. And so I'm just putting it over everything, because the darks in between them will be negative painted. So you just put it over everything. And again, this is a wet in the wet technique, more of a watercolor. And if you want to use gouache this way, that's fine. If you only want to bring your gouache, instead of bringing both watercolor and gouache, you can just bring one or the other, because they're both watercolor. One's opaque and one's just transparent. And actually, you can make your transparent opaque by adding white, or just using it thick. But you're not supposed to use it as thick as like a gouache completely. That's not allowed, because I think it would fall off if it's really thick. So this is transparent, and so I can see the lines underneath. That's the nice thing about watercolor, is when you put it over it like that, you can see through it, and you can see your lines you put in. And now there's even a shadow. Look, there's a shadow on there, which wasn't there this morning, but what the heck. Let's put a little bit of purple. Of course, you need purple in your work. You know that if you're with me. All right, the sound is perfect. Thank you. Boy, the wind is blowing the camera. Are the wells in your palette detachable? If so, where did you get such big pans? These pans right here are the lip balm pans. and they come with a lid, but I put a magnet on them and I put them onto metal. I am making a plastic one where I'm using metal paint. Metal flakes are in the paint, and so hopefully that'll stick into the pan. I'm still working on that design. I found just this paper thing where you put paper in, and so we'll see how that works. It's absorbent ground gesso. It's not watercolor ground, it's absorbent ground. Yeah, this palette's not a new palette, it's just those lip balm things. And this is the gouache palette, and this is the regular palette. All right, where was I? Okay, so that's their, now let's do a little bit of sand that's over here too. So that would be a little bit of this color. So there's a little bit of sand, you can see through the darks. And so I'm gonna put that in now. And put that in with a little bit of violet, and again, that pink. It's all gray, basically gray, beige, you know, and so just anything in that vicinity is fine. And put a little white into a little bit of jaune and pink. Let's get a little bit of that in there. It is actually take a little bit of neutral tint and make it dirty, because you know, the sand can be a little bit dirtier. And because most of this is going to be my dark, that's all going to be my dark, and so this is just a little flecks you see through it, so you can put that in there. And the sand down here on the beach is very light, and so I'm going to leave some of the white of the paper, or use a little bit of that yellow because it was in the morning and it probably was reflecting some of the sun, so a little bit of yellow on the beach here. And of course my pencil line, I didn't wipe it off, so I'm getting graphite mixed in with the paint. But that's okay, that'll make it a little bit dirty. That's a good thing. Alright, so there's all my lights basically. That's step one, all my lights. Now let's go for step two, which is all the mediums and all the darks. Large mediums and large darks. And for that I'm gonna use my round brush. So I can change that off. And if there's something, a nice thing about watercolor and not using acrylic or oil, I can wash this all off. If I feel like if I'm here and by myself and I'm just doing this and I'm thinking, well, you know, that sky, man, I just want to try it again differently. And if you want to change it to what it is right now, you can. But yeah, because it's watercolor, so you can just wash it off. And on a panel like this is really easy. It doesn't wreck the paper at all. The paper, there is no paper. It's all panel. It's canvas mixed with the gesso ground. So now I've got to find a green slash brown slash, you know, yeah, earth tones for all the plants that are here. And so we'll take, let's see, I have a little bit of this. This is called yellow gray. It's kind of like a yellow ochre. So I'm going to start with the yellow ochre, mix some blue to it to make my green. And so I have a green here. I just kind of put it on there to test it. And then I probably should wait till this dries, but it's going to take a while to dry. Actually, the wind is drying it pretty quickly. And now I want to go in pretty dark. And so let's take some purple, or I mean some blue, some dark blue, which I think over here is Prussian blue. And then my quinacridone. Where's my quinacridone? Gold. I think this is gold. And so that makes it dark green. Mix a little bit of dark purple with it to get it even darker and dull. I'm dulling up my blue a little bit because I don't want a bright green. I want a dull green. I'm just going to start on this side and work our way across this way. So I'm just going to flick it up to make some of the grasses. And that is really dark. And let's get some orange in there. So I'm just going to do it orange. And you notice I'm making it pretty thick. And I'm wisping my brush a little bit to get a little bit of texture. And it's not softness that I'm getting with water. I'm getting softness because I'm going across it quickly and just getting texture. There's a bunch of plants here. I'm just going to take this and just get my railing done. My railing is going to be showing because of the dark behind it. And now I can add water and just make things flow together. the railing on this side. There's a little bit showing on this side. That'll show my railing on this side. I kind of like the board only because it kind of takes the look of oil and a little bit of a watercolor. You get a little bit of both. That's why I kind of like that. Why I kind of like using the panels. I really don't like the texture of canvas, though. That's one thing I really kind of don't like. But I thought I'd give it a shot here just because I had it. There's little flowers in here, so this can just be a fun watercolor wash. So just wet it and just put all kinds of paint in there. And if you want some thicker paint, just go into your gouache, and that'll cover up really well. Why does gouache cover up better? It's because it's ground finer and there's more pigment in gouache, especially in Holbeins. I know for a fact that that's what they use. They make it thicker, and so it's more finely ground to make it opaque. Looking for questions. Good morning, everybody. So look at all this beautiful darks in there. Now it pops everything else out. And I'm going to go over on this side. And this is not the details yet. This is just the large area of darks with details, kind of. You know, while I'm painting, I'm trying to get some detail in there. But I'm trying to just get in with my darks. I'm just trying to establish the darks. And I can get my details with my small brush. And now this is going to have to go through every one of these little areas here, negative paint then. But I'm going to start out over here first. And just put a big wash over this, getting my railing. And then I'm gonna get some orange in there again, because green has a lot of orange and yellow in it. So just take out some yellow and some green. I mean, some orange and some yellow, and put it right into the green. It'll dull it down a little bit. It'll make it look more realistic. Also violet. Violet's a great color to put into green. There's a lot of violet in there. And then look around. I didn't put any violet over here. I always like a little bit of violet in here. And I'm not sure if you can notice it, but it's getting pretty thick. I'm getting it pretty thick, but it's still watered down, so it will blend itself to get a soft edge. And I'll take this brush, flick it up, and you can take an ugly brush. I call this an ugly brush. It's just one of those brushes you buy at Menards for like 99 cents. And so what I can do is I can just go in here and I can just use the ends. See how the ends are really, really basically messy. And so I can just take a thick amount of pigment, make some green up again. I'm just going to use that to make some of the grasses. I'm just punching it in. It's always nice to have this. I call it the ugly brush because it's a really ugly brush I used to use for paint parties. And we use it for everything with acrylics. But it works really well with watercolor too. And they're very inexpensive. Like I said, maybe 99 cents, maybe less than that even. There. Let's see, what time do we have here? 28 minutes. Oh, it says right up there how long it's been going. Now here we can, let's wait for that. Let's go in here now. And I don't have my 1/2-inch brush. I must have left it in my bag back in the car. So I don't have a 1/2 inch, so I'm going to use a 1-inch flat to get in there and get my details inside the, because you're creating two things. You're creating the background, and then you're also creating in between the railing. So I'm just going to wet it first. I'm just going to create inside there, and then I'll get the texture in there afterwards. It's hard to do both at the same time. I can be a little bit darker. because you're gonna see what's in there. But you know, like I said, first I'm working the boards. Basically, is what I'm doing. So this is negative painting the railing and the boards on the railing. And then later I'll go in there and I'll get what it is that's in there. And that'll be done more with the gouache than it will be I gotta get my smaller, let's do this part here first. And I can also get the roundness of the pylons and stuff later. I don't need to get that now. It's just put a little bit of dark in here. And then this one over here. I'll get a little bit dark here with my smaller 1/4 inch brush. And now I can go in here, you know, I can dip some color in there, so a little bit thicker. It looks like plants. I can scrape with the back of the brush to get some plants in there. If you got fingernails long, then do that. I'll go in there later even more and with the opaques and get some more of that happening. But that's my dark. That's my dark, and my sky is my dark. And see, now that becomes the light. So I got the light pattern going right through there. And then later on, I will also make this more detailed when I get to detail stage. But we're still working our large area of darks. Even though this is detailed, this is a large area of dark. Is how I do it. And I think I'm about to get ready to do the details. Boy, there's a lot of purple in here now. I'm noticing. It's funny how it changes through every minute by minute. It changes a little bit of color because of how the lighting is affecting it. There's a lot of purple in here. And so put some on this side too. And then we'll go down this way. And since the sun would be coming at us, and look, I got a little spot right there. I'm going to put white on. I'm not sure. I got one little spot of dark in there in the sun. But this side of the railing then would be a little bit darker, right? And so that's a big area of medium. So let's do that right now. We have to go back to getting rid of our green and go back to our little bit of dirty lavender. And so that's going to be a little bit darker now. You can put it on the side. Leave the top alone because the top is... Oh, I still got green in my brush. My water container is one of Barb's glasses from the kitchen. I don't know what I do with my all my containers. I have like 3 containers. I don't know where one of them is. I went through my car and I was looking through all my containers. So I have to be washing that out after I get done. So this is then just this is the dark on the dark side because this isn't shadow, right? This is going to be, sun's over here, it's pointing this way. So this will be the shadow part of that. Even though this is on the light side, if I look over a little bit, I see a little dark going through here, but we'll keep that. You can make it a texture too if you want. And then there's sand on the boardwalk here. And that's just, and then the boards themselves get a little bit darker. And then what I'm going to do is take that ugly brush and give it a little bit of grain of the wood. Just going across here, leaving a little of the sand there. Well, that didn't work out that well. Let's just get a little bit with this brush. This brush works better, actually. And then you can just put a little bit of the darkness in there. I can throw some shadows in here. There were some shadows in there before. You have to memorize this stuff. See, that's how come it's good to memorize what you see. And it's so good for you, because memorizing it, then if it goes away, you can still do it. You can still apply what happened before. And then I go across it this way to get rid of it. That's why I'm so thankful that I worked in the advertising field for so long, because I learned so much when it came to drawing, because everything I did had to be from my imagination, because the art directors would just ask me to do something and you just had to draw it. And so that was a really big help when it comes down to just memorizing how to draw things. Make it look a little bit more realistic. A little bit darker down here on the side. All right, time for details. So for that, I'm going to start going with my small round brush, and I'm going to start getting the plants. I'm going to see if I can wipe out this little bit of dark here. Yeah, a little bit of purple right in my sun, in the middle of my sun. Look at this. I'm just rubbing it out with water, and I'm going to take a paper towel. Not sure how that got in there. All right, so that plant over there has a bunch of really dark green palms. Some super dark green palms, and also some light ones. So I'm going to start in the bottom here with the dark. I'm just going to negative paint, because I'm using it kind of thick. Doing each one of the fronds. They're just kind of putting them in. Like the plant, it's detail, so don't be afraid of the detail. Just go in and get everything you see. And then we've got some warmer dead fronds. So those are just like light, almost that jaune number thing again, jaune number 2. I'm just going to use a little bit of that in there. So these are the dead ones. They haven't fallen off yet. And then let's do some light green too. And I use leaf green for that. I use leaf green for my light green. If you don't want to mix it with like quinacridone gold and a really light blue. Just going to go in there and get some light fronds. Any questions, guys? Good morning, everybody. Let's get some really dark blue again. Dark blue, quinacridone gold, dark blue, quinacridone gold, and dark permanent violet. I put permanent violet into my dark green. It always dulls it down a little bit.
Very nice.
Thank you. Thank you. Got some folks heading to the beach. I don't know if you've been watching out there, because you can kind of see it out there, but there's a lot of people walking by on the beach. Yesterday, I actually started running again, and so I went down about a mile, and that's about as far as I could go for the first time I started running again. It's like, whoa, I gotta start. So maybe after this, I may take a long walk. So now you look to see where there are darks in your sketch here. You can also put the lights in. I like to put the darks in now, kind of thick. And you squint your eye to see all those darks. And this part you kind of make up to. You can just have fun with it. It's already got your dark. You already know what's going on here, so. And like right down here, it gets really dark in some spots. And now I'm using it a little bit thicker. It's not running so much. And there's even some little yellow flowers and stuff. You can put those in too. Got a brush on this so it doesn't keep on falling over. Let's get some really dark green again on this side, left side. I'm going to use a little bit of gouache, and I'm going to use the same colors, Prussian blue and gouache. And I know that by using this instead of the watercolor, it's not transparent, so it's going to cover really well. Look at how it just covers right away. It doesn't give you any transparency, and you can use it a little bit thicker. So you're almost acrylic painting or oil painting when you're doing that like that. That's pretty thick. And if I add water though, then it becomes back to watercolor. Then I can just let it bleed in and it'll soften its edge. So I can still do that. And there's a nice plant over here. Let's get some lights in here now. Let me first get some little lavender. Little hits of lavender through here. And actually, light hits too. What the heck? But this morning there was none of that because it was actually I shouldn't do that because if this is morning with the sun right there, this would all be in shadow, and so I'm just gonna put a little bit on that. But yeah, that would be all in shadow. It'd be a lot darker. So, like I said, you can't go chasing the sun and trying to follow the sun because you have to stick with what you start out with. Otherwise, it doesn't look right. A morning sun gives you shadows, and it gives you a lot of silhouette shapes. And you'll see that if you look at what I had posted as what I'm going to paint on the video cover. So I'm going back in here and darkening some of this because I'm thinking, wait a second, if I do that, if I'm doing like it looks now, it would not look like morning because it is not morning right anymore. Oh, the wind's coming up. All right, let's get a couple of these real fine things in here. There's got a little post over there. I don't know if you can see them. Right there. There's those little posts back here. Bit of this together. I mean, it's your prerogative what you want to do. A lot of plein air painters want to make it look exactly like what's there. I kind of tend to just go with what I saw in the very beginning. I stick with that and I just don't change it. I try to keep it in. And a lot of times I have my photograph with me right in front of me, which I can't because I'm filming right now. But if you have it in front of you too, the photograph, you can recall what happened. You can recall what it looked like. And you get this sunset, the lightest and lightest right there. Those two things are the lightest. I maybe go into the sand or into the water a little bit over here. Make it a little bit lighter blue and put a little bit more of the waves. A little bit more of the waves are basically when they fall over, they're light, and when they're just coming up to be waves, then they're dark. And then it's just a dark wave. It's just like you see into the wave. It gets really dark. I'm going to put a little blue there. If you're ever out there trying to learn how to paint something, study it for a while. Study and memorize it for a while. Look at what's happening. I do that a lot when I'm trying to figure out something. Here you got the railing. I'll make it a little bit darker. The railing right here where the water or the sand is light. I'll make that a little bit darker. Now let's put a little bit of fun little flowers in here. Make happy little flowers. Is the Jean number 4 a watercolor or gouache? It's a watercolor. It's a transparent watercolor. Though they do make it also in the gouache, but I don't think I have it in the gouache. I don't think it's in here. So I'm going to take some yellow and white, a little bit of white and yellow, and I'm just going to make little flowers here. Because there are actually little yellow flowers all over the place. Don't ask me what they are. I have no idea. They're what? Okay, they're dune daisies. Barb tells me they're dune daisies. So I'm painting dune daisies right now. And they actually have yeah, they look just like daisies. There's another one that's yellow and red. It has a red center. That's a what?
Blanket flower.
A blanket? That's a blanket flower. So put them in there. Put them in there. It's there. They're there. Putting little dots over here and there. And the wind is getting kind of chilly now. Some more yellow over here, and we're gonna get close to done, guys. So any last questions, make sure you get them out. What did you miss? I'm not sure. Not sure what you missed. We are doing the scene of a beach scene. Look at this little shadow right here, a little lavender. Back there. Some more yellow and white. I like to put white in my yellow, just so that it makes it a little bit more opaque and not so vibrant. Yellow tends to be way too vibrant a color. And then let's put some like little stems here and there. A lot of little grasses, a lot of long dune grasses, I'm going to call them. Just going to go in there. All right, let me just show you one more thing about when I was talking about before, if I would go back into the sky. So let's say we have a few more minutes here, but so like the sky right here looks. I don't like this line. I like to have it a little bit more softer. So I'm going to take it and I'm going to go in my gouache now and let me help that along with a little bit more thicker pigment. And it's not going to run. It's not like a watercolor wash because the watercolor wash softens with water, but a gouache wash, you put it on thick and you just rub it so that you're kind of rubbing. You're rubbing the sky with pigment, and you can mix your watercolor with your gouache. It's the same thing. It's just again a few different things when it comes to the pigment. But see, I'm just going to take and make it darker, and I can add water, or I can make it. I can rub it. So I'm doing a little bit of both. I'm doing a little bit of gouache painting and a little bit of watercolor painting. Because the watercolor painting is using water to make it soft. Gouache is just you're rubbing it to make it soft. I just want to even it out a little bit, and so I'm using the gouache thick, and it will cover anything I did underneath it. And you're not breaking any rules, really. You are breaking a rule if you want to do it with transparent watercolor. But it's not transparent anymore because then it becomes opaque. But it's fun to do, so don't feel like you're not allowed to do it. It's okay. No watercolor police are going to come over to you and arrest you for not doing transparent watercolor, because this is definitely not transparent. It's gouache, and so I'm going in there with a thick amount, like I said, I'm mixing both my watercolor and my gouache together, and it's all fine. It's all fine. And the technique is, if you want it to be soft edge on its own, then you have to use the water, and that works with both pigments. If you want to make it thick and you're rubbing it yourself, then that's more of a gouache technique. And it looks different too. So you decide on what you like, what the look that you want. Here I'm using watercolor thick. Here this is the jaune number. This is watercolor, but I'm using it so thick it feels like I'm using it like gouache, which I can. You can use either one. Like I use a lot of white with some of my paints, and so this is the underneath the clouds. We're just gonna put that in there a little bit. So that's just to show you that you can use both either way, and why not? I like to use that, and if I had acrylic, I could use that on there too. It really doesn't matter. The acrylic would dry hard, and so then I wouldn't be able to go back in. And now I'm just gonna wash a little bit in this way. This is a little bit too colorful here. I think I'm gonna wipe that out a little bit too much stuff happening. My center of interest is this whole area, basically. It is actually right through here, and then it comes right to the sun, which is a secondary. I don't like to have too many things so that you simplify. I like things looking simplified. And then I squint my eye at the painting and to make sure I got the value pattern. And this is pretty bright sky here. And I'm gonna dull it down a little bit with a little bit of lavender. That blue is really, because these are clouds. They are not the sky. This is not the blue sky. This is clouds covering it. So that would be darker. That wouldn't be dark. That is dark blue. So I'm gonna dull that down a little bit. And some people ask me, do you always use watercolor brushes for your gouache? Yep, it's basically watercolor. People got to remember, it's watercolor. It just happens to be opaque watercolor. I got a hair in here that it's not leaving me. So, is your gouache dried into their pans or is it fresh? This is, I put them in about a year ago. So it's dry, but it instantly rejuvenates because I have it into this is airtight, because this top is like a silicone seal, and so basically it's keeps it airtight. But I do have to put a little bit of water in here to activate them, compared to the watercolor that Holbein has. Holbein watercolors, you never have to do that. It just instantly rejuvenates. But these, yeah, you have to a little bit of water, and they're not super. Well, look at I put it in there. You can pick up a lot of paint. All right, let me look at it one more time. And see, I can even rub things out nicely in here. So if I want to get back to the white of paper, look how easy I can get back to the white of paper by just rubbing a little bit underneath the cloud. Just gonna rub here a little bit, and look at how it just comes right back. That's what I love about watercolor, is I can just come in here and just rub it right back out to get the lights underneath the clouds. And then you can also use white there too. So normally I don't like going back at my sky, liking everything done, but I just wanted to show you the difference between watercolor and gouache, and how you can use them together and apart, and do a little bit of everything. And this is again done on canvas panel. So if you missed that in the beginning, this is a canvas panel that was gessoed, or actually it was painted with absorbent ground. And I did a bad job because I got a bunch of hairs in here stuck in there, but it's good. All right, so I think that's it, guys. I think I'm going to leave it at that. Unless you guys see something, or I have a last question. Yes, getting chilly. You are looking at sea oats. Sea oats, the tall stuff. That's Gigi. Oops, sea oats. Sea oats. She said sea oats. The tall ones are sea oats. So I didn't actually put them in there. So let's get a couple sea oats in there. So Gigi says that these are sea oats. Let's get a couple of sea oats in there. So Gigi will be in my class tomorrow. So tomorrow we start a class with watercolor and gouache. And there's the sea oats. All right, I think we're going to leave it at that. Oh, a couple of lines for the... I always like putting in the lines for the boards here. All right, there we go, guys. I think that's enough. I've done enough. And we're actually at 55, so very close to done. Any last questions? Yep. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for watching. And for those of you down here, I'll see you in class on Monday morning. And for everybody else, I'll see you Thursday. Thursday, I will be doing a demonstration, probably from my hotel room on the way back home. And so I'll be somewhere probably in Chattanooga. And so I'll see you then, guys. Give you one more shot. Here I am. There we are. And there's the painting closer up.